Hi, everyone. We got a few more people in the waiting room that are joining, and we will get started. Welcome as well. It's nice to see some new faces and names. We'll go ahead and get started. Pam, I know Tung had some issues last week, I believe, getting in. So he's seen the intro, so I'm just gonna get going. And if you wanna work with him. So yeah, today it's our last session on the AIA's 2030 series. It's been a fun ride going through all this. Today's sort of putting it all together on the final steps. So we'll just get right into it. The major learning objectives, and I do apologize, I'm on a bit of kid duty right now, so I might fly through this intro. Justify the inclusion of integrated energy efficiency strategies and projects, track project performance to inform future design, teach other professionals in the firm and community about advanced energy efficiency strategies, and understand the key role the architecture and planning professions play in meeting the climate goals. So I'm really excited about this one, just to sort of bring it full circle, look at the role we as architects play in advocating for these things, and knowing that, you know, a lot of times it starts with us being able to talk fluently about these issues with our clients and move the ball forward. So as always, thanks to our chapter sponsors. We couldn't do both the work as the chapter and our group without their support. So the why, which I'll just dive into this since there are some new faces. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, so the why, the urban built environment is responsible for 75% of the annual global greenhouse gas emissions. Of that, buildings alone account for 39%. So as architects and designers and planners, we have a pretty high level of responsibility in doing our part to mitigate the long-term impacts of climate change. And I'll do a plug if you haven't been seeing some of it. I know the AIA National had a delegation for the first time at COP26 this year, which was pretty exciting. And there's been lots of reporting out on some of that from the members that were there. If you haven't seen it, I'll try to find some links while the video is playing and share those in the chat, just to see sort of the work that others in our profession were doing to advocate for these issues. 2030 challenge is just seeking to reach carbon neutrality and net zero energy by 2030. For those of you signed on to the 2030 commitment already, you know we're working on an 80% reduction right now in the lead up to 2025, where it'll jump to a 90% reduction. And that's from the 2003 CBEX survey. Process, basically you create an account on the Design Data Exchange, upload the commitment from your firm leadership, take some time as a firm and as a team to create a holistic action plan around sustainability and how it'll inform your work. And then it's just reporting projects performance on the DDX and hopefully conducting lessons learned on past projects. I won't read the quote from President Kennedy, but this was his quote in his speech at Rice University about sort of advocating for why we should go to the moon. And given some of the jokes lately about some of the wealthier individuals in our society who choose to abandon climate issues and shoot people into space. I guess the quote maybe doesn't date well, but I think is related to the objective we have in terms of combating these issues. So we've talked about building envelope on some of this, and I just wanted to highlight in the last couple sessions, we've talked about this, how in the grand scheme of things, the building envelope is going to probably be the longest lasting system of a building. And it's also the first place that we should start when we think about how to reduce the energy load in a building as well as the carbon load. So that's why I'd recommend the book Design Professional's Guide to Zero Net Energy Building by Charles AIA. It's a great overview of ways to achieve this as well. And so with that, we'll get started with the video. We'll have some time at the end for questions and dialogue. I'm hoping everyone can stick around. If you do have questions in the meantime, pop them in the chat. Yeah, we'll get going. There was a glitch in the video, but as we're getting close to the end, and I know Vincent was probably just gonna make a concluding statement and then there'd be just a brief recap. So I think first I want to just thank everyone for attending. There were a couple of quotes that jumped out at me, but the big one I circled was the Lorax quote about unless people care a whole lot. And I, of course, can't remember it, but I think that really struck me. But I guess I want to turn it over if there's any questions or dialogue or discussion that anybody wants to share. Like I said, we don't have a lot of time. Happy to go long if anyone wants to, but any comments from anyone? And if there are, just pop in. As always, I ask the prompt, will you sign the 2030 commitment today at your firms? If you do, we would like to know at COTE. And also we'd like, feedback and from all of you on how we can help support you in that endeavor. This video was great for me in terms of trying to think of programming for 2022 and just generating some ideas. So I think both in terms of what AIA Grand Rapids does next year around this, and hopefully it inspired some of you to get your firms to sign on as well. I do have some resources that are available. Most of these are on AIA National's website. I'll probably get like a summary email out of this series that I'll work with Pam to include in the next newsletter or update with many of these links. I'm both sad and excited for what the new year brings. Sad that this programming is wrapping up today. This was our last session in the 2030 series. Right now, COTE, AIA Grand Rapids COTE is still sort of planning out some of our programming for next year. We're certainly open to feedback and ideas for that, or if anyone has something they want to present on, that would be great as well. These events that I just want to give a plug to, and Pam's going to be adding these to the chapter newsletter as well, are from the actual 2030 commitment. So these are some sessions and webinars you can attend starting in 2022, and the lead up to the process is that you submit your portfolio on March 31st. for the previous year. So these sessions are, hey, here's what the DDX is, here's how to add projects to it, here's how to submit your portfolio, and then any last minute questions that you may have as you're doing that. So that's some national level programming. I've attended a number of these in the past and they're really good. Also inspirational in that regard. So yeah, if there's any concluding comments, we're certainly open and willing to hear them, but stay tuned for future programming. And that concludes today's. If no one has any comments to add, that does conclude today's session. So
see you later, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
yeah, thank you.